that please join through Prabhuji's link. If anybody, from our everyday chant Harinam wants to join, I just shared that.
Yeah, we are all set.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna devotees, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Today we are so fortunate to have His Grace Prema Rāsa Dāsa Prabhuji, and today Prabhuji will enlighten us on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2, Verse 12. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam, please take over the call.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam to all the devotees. It is my fortune to again serve you all. And thank you so much for giving me this wonderful opportunity. Okay, so I'm going to share the screen now. Okay. All right. Are you all able to see the screen? The verse number?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. Om Ajnana-timirandasya Jnana-anjana-shalakaya Chakshurumilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namaste Sarvadeve Gaurvani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatari Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advait Gadadhara Shivasati Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, so today we'll be reading from the first canto, second chapter and 12th verse. Actually, I had given some other verse earlier. I think you must have seen the flyer also. It was from the 7th canto, but then later on I felt that this is the best verse which is relevant to today's topic. So then I requested Madhuri to change the verse number. All right, so reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, second chapter, verse number 12. Tat Shraddhadana Munayo Jnana Vairagya Yuktaya Paschanti Atmani Chatmanam Bhaktya Sutta Grihitaya. Synonyms: Tat, that; Shraddhadana, seriously inquisitive; Munaya, sages; Jnana, knowledge; Vairagya, detachment; Yuktaya, well equipped with; Paschanti, see; Atmani, within himself; Cha, and; Atmanam, the Paramatma; Bhaktya, in devotional service; Sutta, the Vedas; Gritaya, well received. Translation: the seriously inquisitive student or sage, well equipped with knowledge and detachment, realizes that absolute truth by rendering devotional service in terms of what he has heard from the Vedanta Shruti, purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The absolute truth is realized in full by the process of devotional service to the Lord Vasudeva, or the personality of Godhead, who is a full-fledged absolute truth. Brahman is his transcendental bodily effulgence, and Paramatma is his partial representation. As such, Brahman or Paramatma realization of the absolute truth is but a partial realization. There are four different types of human beings: the karmis, the jnanis, the yogis, and the devotees. The karmis are materialistic, whereas the other three are transcendental. The first class transcendentalists are the devotees who have realized the Supreme Person. The second class transcendentalists are those who have partially realized the plenary portion of the Supreme, of the Absolute Truth, Absolute Person. And the third class transcendentalists are those who have barely realized the spiritual focus of the Absolute Person. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita and other Vedic literature, the Supreme Person is realized by devotional service, which is backed by full knowledge and detachment from material association. We have already discussed the point that devotional service is followed by knowledge and detachment from material association. As Brahman and Paramatma realization are imperfect realizations of the absolute truth, so the means of realizing Brahman and Paramatma, that is the paths of Jnana and Yoga, are also imperfect means of realizing absolute truth. Devotional service, which is based on the foreground of full knowledge, combined with detachment from material association, and which is fixed by the oral reception of the Vedanta Shruti, is the only perfect method by which the seriously inquisitive student can realize the absolute truth. Devotional service is not, therefore, meant for the less intelligent class of transcendentalist. There are three classes of devotees, namely first, second, and third class. Third class devotees are neophytes who have no knowledge and are not detached from material association, but who are simply attracted by the preliminary process of worshipping the deity in the temple, are called material devotees. Material devotees are more attached to material benefit than transcendental profit. Therefore, one has to make definite progress from the position of material devotional service to the second class devotional position. In the second class position, the devotee can see the four principles in the devotional line, namely the personality of Godhead, his devotees, the ignorant, and the envious. One has to raise himself at least to the stage of a second class devotee and thus become eligible to know the absolute truth. A third class devotee therefore has to receive the instructions of devotional service from the authoritative sources of Bhagavad. The number one Bhagavad is established personality of devotee, and the other Bhagavatam is the message of Godhead. The third class devotee therefore has to go to the personality of devotee in order to learn the instructions of devotional service. Such a personality of devotee is not a professional man who earns his livelihood by the business of Bhagavatam. Such a devotee must be a representative of Sukdev Goswami like Sut Goswami and must preach the cult of devotional service for the all-around benefit of all people. A neophyte devotee has very little taste for hearing from the authorities. Such a neophyte devotee makes a show of hearing from the professional men to satisfy his senses. This sort of hearing and chanting has spoiled the whole thing. So one should be very careful about the faulty process. The holy messages of Godhead as inculcated in the Bhagavad Gita or in the Bhagavatam are undoubtedly transcendental subjects. But even though they are so, such transcendental matters are not to be received from the professional man who spoils them as a serpent spoils milk simply by touch of his tongue. A sincere devotee must therefore be prepared to hear the Vedic literature like the Upanishads, Vedanta and other literatures left by the previous authorities or Goswamis for the benefit of his progress. Without hearing such literatures, one cannot make actual progress. And without hearing and following the instructions, the show of devotional service becomes worthless and therefore a sort of disturbance in the path of devotional service. Unless therefore devotional service is established on the principles of Shruti, Smriti, Purana or Pancharath authorities, the make show of devotional service should at once be rejected. An unauthorized devotee should never be recognized as a pure devotee. By assimilation of such messages from the Vedic literatures, one can see the all-pervading localized aspect of the personality of Godhead within his own self constantly. This is called Samadhi. Amazing. The last three lines, Srila Prabhupada says, once again I will read it. An unauthorized devotee should never be recognized as a pure devotee. By assimilation of such messages from the Vedic literature, one can see the all-pervading localized aspect of the personality of Godhead within his own self constantly. This is called Samadhi. So today's topic is, can we read the books of other Acharyas? Now, normally there is, I think there is a conception amongst devotees that should we go ahead and read the books of the previous Acharyas or the Goswamis also. And so here in this particular purport, we can clearly see that Prabhupada is encouraging us to actually read the books left by the previous Goswamis or authorities. In one sense, there is no scope, there is no chance of Prabhupada saying that we should not read them, because Prabhupada also is in a parampara and he has established his own Guru parampara lineage. So to say that one should only read my books and not to read my Gurujan books, that is also an aparadh. So there is no question of Prabhupada saying that we should not read the books. However, we should also try to understand the context. And here, as Prabhupada is saying, that just imagine the potency of hearing from these great Vaishnavas, from the Vaishnava Acharyas. Prabhupada says that by assimilating such knowledge from Vedic literatures, one is able to immediately see and come in contact with the personality of Godhead within his own self constantly. This is the potency of just by acquiring the knowledge which is given to us by the disciplic succession. And what to speak of Srila Prabhupada, but even the great Vaishnava Acharyas in our lineage, they have given lot of nectarian knowledge to us. And Srila Prabhupada has very kindly compiled that knowledge for us in the form of his books, in the form of his BVD purports. So see, in the scripture it is also mentioned that dharmasya tatyam nihitam guhayam mahajano yena gata sapatta. The truth of dharma, or the essence of dharma, and the real meaning of dharma is actually hidden in the heart of the devotees. Mahajano yena gata sapatta. Unless and until we follow in the footsteps of the great Acharyas, there is no question of any kind of revelation that will make us realize the Supreme Lord. So here, that's why it is very important to hear from bona fide source authority. And that's why Prabhupada also says that otherwise what will happen? There will be a mixture of devotion. So in the name of devotional service, there will be a lot of sahajiyas who will come up with their own concept of bhakti. And it is mainly mixed with sentiments rather than philosophical understanding and background. And that is also not something which is, it is actually something contrary to devotional service. That's why Rupa Goswami has also said, Shruti Smriti Puranadi Pancharatrik Vidim Vina Ekantiki Harer Bhakti Utpata Eva Kalpate. That without following the intentions of Shruti Smriti Puranadi and Pancharatra Vidhi, whatever devotional service that we try to display, to show to people, or we think that we have some devotion, that is all going to create disturbance in society. So it is very important that we understand the message of devotional service from the bona fide authorities. And definitely our Srila Prabhupada is one of the best authorities in the Gaudiya Vaishnava line. Not just Gaudiya Vaishnava line. In fact, I can say that amongst all the four Sampradaya Acharyas, Srila Prabhupada is one of the best in that. Now, is it necessary to read the books of previous Acharyas? Because Prabhupada also says that I have given you the essence of all the teachings of the previous Acharyas. And that also we can clearly see in Prabhupada's purports and his teachings. So Prabhupada he has given us the storehouse of transcendental knowledge in a very subtle, in a very brief way, provided we have the eyes to see that. Now the problem is that what Prabhupada has done is he has assembled all this knowledge in his purports, and his purports are mixed with philosophy. They are mixed with the knowledge which is supposed to be catering to time, place, circumstance to the people. And that is why sometimes it is not possible for us, especially when we read Prabhupada books for the first time or maybe for the second time. It is not possible for us, or maybe it is difficult for us to find out what exactly the Acharyas they have given and Srila Prabhupada has incorporated in his books. Because the message that Prabhupada has given is, he has also taken into consideration preaching to new people. So you'll see that Prabhupada purports, mostly Prabhupada purports are based on preaching to new people so that everyone becomes devotee of the Lord. That's why whether you take the Bhagavad Gita or the Srimad Bhagavatam or Chaitanya Charitamrita is definitely advanced, but especially the Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, you see Prabhupada has given a lot of basic foundation. Even in the Krishna book also, Prabhupada has not just given the 10th canto of Krishna's pastime, but Srimad Bhagavatam, but Prabhupada also inserted the first two cantos everywhere in the 10th canto. So the first two cantos are the foundation principles of the philosophical truths of the science of Krishna consciousness. And we know that the Srimad Bhagavatam is compared to the entire body of Krishna, where the first two cantos, they are compared to the lotus feet of the Lord. So the first two cantos are the foundational principles, the philosophical truths, and Srila Prabhupada has divided those truths in the Krishna book also. So that's why from wherever you read the Krishna book, you will always find something which is philosophical, which will establish the right siddhant and the mood to understand Krishna's particular pastime. So you'll see that Prabhupada did not omit the Rasila chapters in that. He has given the entire 10th canto. He did not omit certain chapters, but he gave everything along with the proper philosophical truths. Right? So now let us go through some of Prabhupada's evidence, like his own statements about reading the books of previous Acharyas, which are given in the Srimad Bhagavatam purports as well as Chaitanya Charitamrita purports also. So we'll go through all these pramans, Srila Prabhupada's own words, and we'll also understand how do we understand, how to balance reading Prabhupada books, how to balance reading other Acharya works, and whether it is necessary to read other Acharya works or not. So that also we'll see. But one thing I would like to start with the fact that what does it mean when we say, we are reading Prabhupada books? What does it mean? Actually, it means that we are reading the books of the previous Acharyas, right? I mean, see, Srila Prabhupada has not given something new to us. What his contribution towards his Bhaktivedanta purports, which is unique compared to the commentary of the previous Acharyas, is that he has connected the Bhagavatam and the entire essence of Vedic knowledge to a very new generation of people who can connect with the Vedic literature. So he has given the message in such a way that I can also connect, I can relate with, you can also relate with, everyone can relate with. The first time readers also, they can connect easily with Srila Prabhupada purports in a very simple, plain language. At the same time, there are also many, you can say, intense practices of bhakti, which were also recommended by the previous Acharyas. And now in this day and age, it is not possible to do. So Srila Prabhupada, what he has done, he has extracted the essence of these practices, and he has only recommended and suggested to us those which are very practical for us to perform in this particular day and age. Because in Kali Yuga, everyone is a Sudra, Kalau Sudra Sambhava. At the same time, Prabhupada also said that we are Malecha than Yavanas. So what to speak of, even today, Brahmanas also, they are in the same category as Sudras. So for us to make us very relevant, very practical, simple, Prabhupada has given his Bhaktivedanta purpose. But has Prabhupada given something new to us? Definitely not. Because Prabhupada has only presented the works of the previous Acharyas. So in one sense, it is a wrong question to ask whether we should read the Acharyas books, because we are already reading the works of the other Acharyas. Okay. Now, another interesting point is, if you see Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita, what is the inspiration for the Bhagavad Gita? The inspiration that Prabhupada uses is from Baldev Vidya Bhushan commentary to the Bhagavad Gita. So you'll see that Prabhupada relied and he referred to Baldev Vidya Bhushan's commentary on the Bhagavad Gita, and then he derived his own commentary from the inspiration of Baldev Vidya Bhushan for the Bhagavad Gita. And Srimad Bhagavatam, it is mentioned that Srila Prabhupada was also inspired by the work of Srila Jiva Goswami in the form of his commentary to the Bhagavatam, which is called as Krama Sandarbha. Krama means in sequence. So Srila Jiva Goswami has written the Sat Sandarbhas, and he has selected many verses from the Bhagavatam, and he has brought together in different sections. That is, Sandarbha means to get things together. But he has mixed up the different verses from the Bhagavatam, not in a sequence. So that's why Jiva Goswami has written commentary called as Sat Sandarbhas. But in the form of sequence, he wrote Krama Sandarbha. That commentary in the form of sequence, it is called as Krama Sandarbha. So it is said that Prabhupada was inspired by his commentary, the Krama Sandarbha commentary of Jiva Goswami on Srimad Bhagavatam. So see, again, you'll see that Prabhupada purports, they are based on the inspiration of the previous Acharyas. Not only that, but you'll see Prabhupada quoting a lot of the commentaries of previous Acharyas. So he frequently quotes Srila Sridhar Swami's commentary, Srila Vishwanath Thakur's commentary, Srila Jiva Goswami, Srila Sanatan Goswami's, Srila Vallabhacharya's commentary. So many of them. Prabhupada keeps quoting very frequently. Madhvacharya's commentary, then Vijay Dhwaj Tirth commentary, Veer Raghavacharya's commentary. So like Prabhupada has given the essence of the commentaries of the all Acharyas. That we know, because constantly in the purports, Prabhupada keeps referring to their commentaries. So the philosophical truths, it is as it is, which is coming down from Srila Rupa Goswami. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu inspired Rupa and Sanatan Goswami, and Srila Jiva Goswami. So all these philosophical truths, it's coming as it is from Srila Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, and Jiva Goswami, and which is made applicable to time, place, circumstance by Srila Prabhupada. So Now, let us go through all these different pramans by Srila Prabhupada. Why it is important to read the Acharya works and how to read it. Okay, so let us start with the conversation Prabhupada had with one of his disciples, clearing up this doubt and question that whether we are allowed to read the commentary of the previous Acharyas. Okay, so this is a conversation between Amoga Prabhu Paramahansa Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada, and then some other disciples also. And this is Morning Walk, 13th of May, Perth, Australia, 1975. Okay, so Amoga, Srila Prabhupada, I remember once I heard a tape where you told us that we should not try to read the books of previous Acharyas. Prabhupada, Amoga, that we should not try to read Bhaktivinoda books or earlier books of other Acharyas. So I was just wondering, Prabhupada, I never said that. Amoga, you didn't say that? Oh, Prabhupada, how is that? I thought you said we should not read the previous Acharyas books. Prabhupada, no, you should read. Amoga, we should. Prabhupada, it is misunderstanding. Paramahamsa, I think maybe he was thinking that there was some things about some of the Gaudiya Math books. Prabhupada, maybe. Paramahamsa, and sometimes you said that better to read your books. Amog, when the devotees went to India this year, they said that Achyutanand Swami very chastised them that you should never. If I catch any one of you buying Bhakti Siddhanta's books from Gaudiya Math, then I will take it away. Something like this. Paramahamsa, yeah, that was. The reason was because of he didn't want the devotees going to Gaudiya Math. But there's nothing wrong with the idea of studying the previous Acharya's books. Prabhupada, no. Who said that is wrong? We are following previous Acharyas. I never said that. Paramahamsa, all of your commentaries are coming from the previous Acharyas. Prabhupada, yes. But that, Jai Dharma, but that wouldn't mean that we should keep all the previous Acharya books and only read them. Prabhupada, that is already there. You first of all assimilate what you have got. You simply pile up books and do not read. What is the use? Jai Dharma. First of all, we must read all your books. Prabhupada, yes. Paramahamsa, practically speaking, Srila Prabhupada, you are giving us the essence of all the previous Acharyas' books in your books. Done. So this is how Prabhupada is saying, especially for those who would like to read the works of previous Acharyas, but if they have not read Prabhupada books, so Prabhupada does not approve of that. So what Prabhupada means is that you read my books, you assimilate my books, and then go on. So basically, if you have the capacity, if you can digest, then you can digest. Digestion means you should be able to understand. You should not be able to get confused. And you should not be overwhelmed with knowledge. So you should be able to filter, you should be able to digest, you should have the capacity. Then you can read it. So Prabhupada clearly says, first assimilate my books, then try to understand the works of previous Acharyas. Right? But he does give permission. And then later on, we'll see that he also not only he will give permission, but he also encourages us very positively that we should actually read the works of the previous Acharyas. So see, the distinction between Prabhupada books and the previous Acharya book, as far as I understand is, because I have also read many of the literature of the previous Acharyas, is that there is a systematic presentation of topics in the works of the previous Acharyas. Whereas in Srila Prabhupada books, everything is assembled at one place. So it is like when you read Prabhupada books, you will get a lot of basic foundational philosophy. At the same time, there are a few statements of the Acharyas that Prabhupada fits in his commentaries. So if you want and that's why there is a lot of chance that you will not be able to remember certain key points. what the Acharyas said, right? So in contrast to what the Acharyas they have given a lot of I mean, they have systematically prepared the content in such a way that it is very easy for you to connect with the topic at hand. So for particular topic, they have given a particular book, and so for different topics, they have given different books. So if you'd like to understand the philosophy in a systematic way, then the books of the previous acharyas are very easy to relate with, because everything you will find in one place. So for example, everything you'd like to know about Krishna, his tattva, his position, his pastimes, everything connected to Krishna. So Jiva Goswami has done that in the form of Krishna Sandarbh. Everything related to bhakti in the form of Bhakti Sandarbh. Everything related to ecstasy of devotional service in the form of Preeti Sandarbh. If you would like to know about how do we establish Srimad Bhagavatam as ultimate authority, that is in the form of Tattva Sandarbh. So everything about Bhagwan, Bhagavad Sandarbh, and then Paramatma, Paramatma Sandarbh, right? So everything has been systematically presented. And then Srila Rupa Goswami's Laghu Bhagavatamrita, he has very nicely established how Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead, the unique position of Krishna compared to the other avatars of the Lord, and the glories of the devotees. So that also he has very systematically presented. And then in Bhakti Samrit Sindhu also, Srila Rupa Goswami has very nicely systematically presented the science of devotional service, right? So what Prabhupada has done, Prabhupada has assembled all these commentaries and he has given it a purpose. There are some books that Prabhupada has translated, like for example, Nectar of Devotion, which is Bhakti Samrit Sindhu. And Prabhupada had a desire to translate the works of the previous acharyas. So he did mention about this point also, that if I live longer, then I would like to give all of my disciples Mahabharata, Ramayana, and works of Bhaktivinoda Thakur and previous acharyas. So Prabhupada had a desire to give us all these commentaries on the different acharya works also. So anyways, now let us go again to the Pramana. Okay, so there is another reference to this, which is coming in the first canto, first chapter, first verse, Janmad Asyayata. So there Prabhupada says that within the past 500 years, many erudite scholars and acharyas like Jiva Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Vallabhacharya, and many other distinguished scholars, even after the time of Lord Chaitanya, made elaborate commentaries on the Bhagavatam. And the serious student would do well to attempt to go through them to better relish the transcendental messages. This is what Srila Prabhupada says in the first opening verse of the Bhagavatam. Okay, now we'll be also going through the purport to the Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela, 5th chapter, verse number 203. So Srila Sanatana Goswami Prabhu, the teacher of the science of devotional service, wrote several books, of which Brihad Bhagavatamrita is very famous. Anyone who wants to know about the subject matter of devotees, devotional service, and Krishna must read this book. Sanatana Goswami also wrote special commentary of the 10th canto of Bhagavatam known as Dasma Tippani, which is so excellent that by reading it, one can understand very deeply the pastimes of Krishna in his exchanges of loving activities. Another famous book by Sanatana Goswami is Hari Bhakti Vilas, which states the rules and regulations for all divisions of Vaishnavas, namely Vaishnava householders, Vaishnava brahmacharis, Vaishnava vanaprasthas, and Vaishnava sannyasis. This book was especially written, however, for Vaishnava householders. Srila Raghunath Das Goswami has described Sanatana Goswami in his prayer, Vilap Kusumanjali, verse 6, where he has expressed his obligation to Sanatana Goswami in the following words. Vairagya Yuga Bhakti Rasam Prayatanaira Apayayan Mam Anabhipsum Andam Pipam Budirya Para Dukha Dukhi Sanatanastam Prabhum Ashrayami. I was unwilling to drink the nectar of devotional service possessed of renunciation, but Sanatana Goswami, out of his causeless mercy, made me drink it even though I was otherwise unable to do so. Therefore, he is an ocean of mercy. He is very compassionate to fallen souls like me, and thus it is my duty to offer my respectful obeisances unto his lotus feet. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, also in the last section of Chaitanya Charitamrita, specifically mentions the names of Rup Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, and Srila Jeev Goswami, and offers his respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of these three spiritual masters, as well as Raghunath Das Goswami. Srila Raghunath Das Goswami also accepted Sanatana Goswami is a teacher of science of devotional service. Srila Rupa Goswami is described as a Bhakti Rasa Acharya, or one who knows the essence of devotional service. In his famous book, Bhakti Samrit Sindhu is his famous book. Bhakti Samrit Sindhu is the science of devotional service, and by reading this book, one can understand the meaning of devotional service. Another of his famous book is the Ujjwal Leelamai. In this book, he elaborately explains the loving affairs and transcendental activities of Lord Krishna and Srimati Radharani. Okay, now another purport from CC Adi Leela 2.117. False devotees, lacking the conclusion of transcendental knowledge, think that artificially shedding tears will deliver them. Similarly, other false devotees think that studying books of previous Acharyas is unadvisable, like studying dry empiric philosophies. But Srila Jeev Goswami, following the previous Acharyas, has inculcated the conclusions of the scriptures in the 6 theses called the Sat Sandarbhas. False devotees who have very little knowledge of such conclusions fail to achieve pure devotion for want of zeal in accepting the favorable directions for devotional service given by self-realized devotees. Such false devotees are like impersonalists who also consider devotional service no better than ordinary fruitive actions. Another purport from Antya Leela, 2nd chapter, 95th verse. A Vaishnava should study the commentaries on the Vedanta Sutra written by the 4 Sampradaya Acharyas, namely Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, Vishnu Swami, Nimbarkacharya. All these commentaries are based upon the philosophy that the Lord is the master and that all living entities are his eternal servants. One interested in studying Vedanta philosophy properly must study these commentaries, especially if he is a Vaishnava. These commentaries are always adored by Vaishnavas. Okay, now Srila Prabhupada also in the introduction to the Bhagavatam, he has mentioned many devotees of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu like Vrindavan Das Thakur, Lochan Das Thakur, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, Kavi Karnapur, Prabodhanand Saraswati Bhatt, Srila Rup Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, Raghunath Bhatt Goswami, Jeev Goswami, Gopal Bhatt Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami. In his later age, within 200 years, Srila Vishwanath Thakur, Baldev Vidyabhushan, Srila Shyamananda Prabhu, Sri Nattam Das Thakur, Sri Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and at last Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur, our spiritual master, and many other great and renowned scholars and devotees of the Lord have prepared voluminous books and literature on the life and precepts of the Lord. Such literatures are all based on Shastras like Vedas, Puranas, Upanishads, Ramayana, Mahabharata, and other histories and authentic literatures approved by the recognized Acharyas. They are unique in composition and unrivaled in presentation, and they are full of transcendental knowledge. Unfortunately, the people of the world are still ignorant of them. But when these literatures, which are mostly in Sanskrit and Bengali, come to light the world, and when they are presented before thinking people, then India's glory and message of love will overflood this morbid world, which is mainly searching after peace and prosperity by various illusory methods, not approved by the Acharyas in the chain of Desadic succession. In Krishna book, Srila Prabhupada says in volume 1, page number 291, I think it's the older edition of Krishna book, which was divided in 3 volumes. So this is a volume 1. I don't exactly remember the exact chapter in this, but anyways, the reference is given to us. Srila Vishwanath Thakur has given us a transcendental literature entitled Krishna Bhavanamrit, which is full with Krishna's pastime. Devotees can remain absorbed in Krishna thought by reading such books. Okay, so these are some of the pramanas from Srila Prabhupada's own words directly mentioned in the Bhagavatam. There may be other pramanas also, but I've selected the most essential ones and the most important ones where Prabhupada is encouraging us, in fact, highly encouraging us to read the commentaries of the Acharyas. And he's also making a very clear point that unless and until we assimilate the teachings of the previous Acharyas. So now reading the books of all the Acharyas is one thing, and assimilating the works, the teachings of the Acharyas is another thing. So that assimilation Prabhupada has given to us in the form of his BVD purport. That's why Prabhupada was very consistent in advising, instructing all his disciples that they should read his books. Because going back to the first verse that we read from the Bhagavatam, it is Prabhupada very clearly says in that, if you don't read his, if you don't try to understand devotional service, which is presented through the works of the Acharyas, then what will happen will mostly be in a sentimental position. And whatever bhakti we are doing will not be able to understand. Is it real bhakti? Is it bhakti avas? Is it bhakti chaya? There is chaya bhakti, there is avas bhakti, which is basically semblance of bhakti or shadow of bhakti. So that will not be able to discriminate. But when we have a clear-cut knowledge through the eyes of the Acharyas, then only we'll be able to, and as I said earlier, that dharmasya tattvam nitam guhyayam, that the truth is revealed to us only with the transcendental torch lamp of the previous Acharya's mercy. So, Om Agyanti Nandasya Jnana Jala Shalakaya. When the ignorance in the heart can only be destroyed by the transcendental torchlight of the knowledge of the previous Acharyas. Without that, it is highly possible that our bhakti is mainly on moving on a sentimental platform, because we are not aware of many truths in devotional service. So that's why Prabhupada was very eager that they read his books. So Prabhupada wants how we should read the books. See, if someone has got the capacity, the taste, the inclination, the enthusiasm, then how they should read the books? They should assimilate whatever Prabhupada has given. They should first read Prabhupada's book because he's the current Acharya, and we should not try to jump over, right? If we jump over, then we'll fall. Another thing we should remember is that whatever we are learning, even Prabhupada's books also, it is not so easy for us to understand everything. So at every stage, we require the help and guidance of a Bhagavad devotee. So the devotee who can actually clarify doubts, who can destroy the doubts, and who can help us also instruct and advise us to how to perform sadhana, how to implement bhakti, the knowledge of bhakti. Because see, just acquiring knowledge without devotional service, that also Prabhupada did not recommend. In fact, he did chastise, he was critical of this kind of mentality. And he also said in many of his conversations that what is the use of such gatherings of knowledge without practical service? So that knowledge, how to put into practice, that is taught also by a devotee. So we should always remember that while reading all the books, we should cultivate humility. That's the most important quality for a devotee. Without humility, there is no question of advancing in spiritual life. So, because the more we gather knowledge, the more the chances that will show off also, and we'll think that we have become superior to others. So that also should be curbed down. So that can only happen when we are learning bhakti, learning knowledge, gathering knowledge under the guidance of a devotee who is sincere and humble. Okay. See, Prabhupada also discouraged his disciples to learn Sanskrit and to translate books. So there are certain instances where Prabhupada did that. And another instances, Prabhupada also encouraged devotees to learn Sanskrit and to write commentaries, because there are two contexts here. One is that by learning Sanskrit, devotees may develop pride, and they may think that they have gone beyond Prabhupada. They have become very exalted that they can now start writing their own commentaries, contrasting Prabhupada's commentaries. So in that context, Prabhupada said, don't learn Sanskrit. And then some devotees Prabhupada encouraged, because he knew that these are very sincere devotees. So the foremost quality of a translator or a commentator or a Sanskrit scholar is that they should be loyal to the parampara, and they should not deviate from the parampara teachings. So that is the qualification. So for those kind of devotees, Prabhupada allowed them. So it's a great service that, for example, His Holiness Bhanu Swami Maharaj, then His Grace Gopi Parandan Prabhu, and many other devotees, Sanskrit devotees scholars, who are who are loyal to the parampara, who are presenting Prabhupada's mood also in their translations of the previous Acharya works. But then there are other devotees who became Sanskrit scholars and they left Prabhupada also because they started thinking that Prabhupada um, did not know how to translate, or so in one sense they also committed aparadh. So there is a danger also. So that's why the proper mood is required to understand and to assimilate the knowledge of the previous acharyas, being loyal to one's own current acharya, Srila Prabhupada. And in that mood only, we should read the books. And the books, we should also know that they are not meant for our knowledge, just for acquiring knowledge, but they are meant to enlighten us, to make us realize that we are ultimately insignificant. That should also cultivate humility. And it is meant in the service of devotees. So that has to be taken care of. Now, do we really require to read the previous Acharya books? Because Prabhupada said that everything is there in my books, and not just his books, but he also said that if you just read these 4 books, Nectar of Devotion, Bhagavad Gita, Teaching of the Lord Chaitanya, and Srimad Bhagavatam, if you just read these 4 books, everything is there for you to attain perfection. Okay, so now Prabhupada said this for devotees who are not able to read so much, who do not have the capacity. So 4 books for them, recommended for them. But others who have got the taste, they have the enthusiasm to read. Then what Prabhupada said, so see, now you can read the books for your own inclination, for your own enthusiasm. At the same time, we can also read books of the previous acharyas as a means to render devotional service to the Vaishnavas. So for example, for a preacher, especially for a preacher is supposed to have proper knowledge, and specifically from the Shastra. The preacher is supposed to quote from the Shastra, back up things from the Shastra. Whatever he says has to be backed up by Guru Shastra. So for a preacher, it is very important to know what the previous acharyas they have said, how they have presented. And another thing, what is observed is that sometimes Prabhupada's purports, they are not so clear in itself. And that's why works of the previous acharyas, they assist Prabhupada's works also. So by reading the works of previous acharyas, many things are very cleared. The doubts are also gone. So that is also helping us to read Prabhupada's books thoroughly, deeply also. So all these factors are important for us to read the works of previous acharyas, but with the proper mood and the direction which is given by Prabhupada. Okay, so this is one thing. Whether it is necessary, absolutely necessary, not at all. Prabhupada has given all his, everything, the essence of the entire scripture in his BBD purpose. So if you just read these 4 books, it's sufficient for us to go back to Godhead. But is our goal going back to Godhead also? No. We also want to serve devotee. We also want to serve. So now, if a devotee has a particular service of preaching or explaining Shastra, then for them, it is very important that they also read the books of the previous acharyas, and they can systematically present the information also. So there are many things that Prabhupada has not given us also. Although Prabhupada gave the essential teaching of the acharyas, but he has not given many things also with the acharyas they have mentioned. And these are also, I think, important to know to a certain extent. I think it is very useful for us to use it as a preaching tool, at the same time to also go deep in our own Krishna consciousness. So that is also important. So this is how we should read Prabhupada books. Now, another very important concept is how to read Prabhupada books, at the same time how to read other Acharya books, and how to filter and balance it. So in this regard, there is a very wonderful verse from the Krishna Varnamrit, because the Krishna Varnamrit is a book which is written by Narari Sarkar, and it explains the Guru Tattva. So how should we relate with the Diksha and the Siksha Guru? How or to which devotee we should give most priority, and if some advanced devotee will give us instruction, but then we have our Siksha and Diksha Guru, and they give some different instruction or contrary instruction. So how to reconcile or how to filter out these instructions? So the proper etiquette to approach the Guru and to understand the knowledge from the Guru. So let me share the screen once again. Yeah. So in his Krishna Varnamrit Narari Sarkar, now Narari Sarkar is actually, it's not Narari Chakravarti, by the way, it is Narari Sarkar. There's some error in that. So Narari Sarkar is an internal associate of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, very, very dear to him. And he had written Krishna Varnamrit. So verses from 42 to 58, we'll skip the Sanskrit, we'll only go through the translation. Okay, so one may listen from the mouth of other great advanced Vaishnavas and understand the special instructions. I think we have also discussed many of the aspects of Guru Tattva in our Guru Tattva class. And I think I quoted these verses from Krishna Varnamrit earlier. So one may listen from the mouth of other great advanced Vaishnavas and understand the special instructions. However, thereafter the disciple must go to his spiritual master for his confirmation of those instructions. A faithful son goes out to earn money, then brings the wealth gained to his father, and then later asks for some allowance from the father. And whatever he receives from the father, he is entitled to spend for his own enjoyment. If a son earns money but does not give it to the father and instead directly enjoys the wealth, he is considered to be a fallen son and a sinful person. Similarly, a disciple may hear some instructions from another advanced Vaishnava, but after gaining that good instruction, he must bring it and present it to his own spiritual master. After presenting it, he should hear the same teachings from his spiritual master with appropriate instructions. A disciple who listens to the words of the other Vaishnavas, even if their instructions are proper and true, but does not reconfirm those teachings with his own spiritual master and instead directly, personally accepts those instructions, is considered a bad disciple and a sinner. In any case, one should not disobey the order of the spiritual master. So the point is that after hearing something from our previous Acharyas, we should try to understand it through Srila Prabhupada teachings and example. And after properly digesting it, with Prabhupada's mercy, we should utilize that knowledge in his service. And in this way, we should begin and end with Srila Prabhupada's books. So a very apt comment is, saying that we should begin and end with Srila Prabhupada's books. So what is the meaning of that? The meaning is, as Prabhupada wanted that we should first assimilate his books. So start with Prabhupada's books. Once you have properly assimilated Prabhupada's books, then can proceed and read the works of previous Acharyas. But now the previous Acharyas, they will also instruct us. They will also, as I said earlier, that there are many practices of bhakti that they will also instruct. So these are intense or heavy or not so easy for us to follow. So they will, and then they may also say something which is not practical to the relevant time. So that all these things should be filtered by Srila Prabhupada's current instructions to us. So that is, Srila Prabhupada books are our filter. It's a filter. If the instructions of the previous Acharyas, they contradict what Prabhupada said according to time and circumstance, especially in terms of the implementation of bhakti in current day and age, then that has to be filtered. But Prabhupada has also presented as it is, whatever philosophy they have presented, they have given to us. So that's why the founder Acharya of our Sampradaya is Srila Rupa Goswami. It is not Srila Prabhupada, because Prabhupada is just repeating the words of Rupa Goswami. And that is why when you are reading Prabhupada books, you are also indirectly reading works of the previous Acharyas. Right? So this is the way that one has to filter the works of the previous Acharyas. Yeah, but one thing we also can know that Prabhupada also greatly encouraged us to read the works of previous Acharyas because it is extremely nectarian. Once you start developing a taste for it, then you just keep going deep and deep and deep in the nectar that they have provided to us. Yeah. All right. So I think, yeah, we are done. And now we can take if there are any questions or comments.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much Prabhuji for your nectarian class. I request other devotees too, if they have any comments or any suggestions, please go ahead and ask.
Okay. Rupini Padma Mataji, are you there? You have any questions? Normally, I think you have questions and comments. Are you there, Mataji?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Madana Pradam, all Srila Prabhupada Guru Maharaj. Thank you, Prabhuji, for the nice class. One question is there in my mind, Prabhuji, can I ask?
Yeah, of course.
So, like, just like Prabhupada came here and started the Krishna consciousness movement, right? So the other gurus behind Srila Prabhupada, right? They were mostly based as of India, right? Like
Then
his Guru
gurus-
Maharaj. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So the kind of preaching they were doing is how far is it similar or different from what Srila Prabhupada did in the USA?
Yeah, so Srila Prabhupada adjusted a lot of scriptural rules and regulations. And like, for example, a sannyasi is not supposed to personally be present in the marriage of Grihastha devotees. So Prabhupada did that. I mean, he performed that ceremony. He's not supposed to perform that ceremony. So he did that. Then Prabhupada crossed the sea, which was also not allowed. Then Prabhupada also allowed men and women, to worship the deities. He also gave second initiation to. So many rules were penned by Srila Prabhupada's interview. And you know that Prabhupada initially asked the devotees to chant 64 rounds, but then later, finally, because devotees they were not ready for it, they thought it is very time consuming and it is difficult. So then Prabhupada minimized the standard to 16 rounds finally. Right? So like that, Prabhupada compromised and adjusted a lot of standards of scripture rules and regulations, even compared to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Swami.
So yeah, thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you for all those points. So the other acharyas, basically, they were confined to, preaching. If little bit you can explain about the others also, like Srila Prabhupada's Guru Maharaj, how through the disciplic succession, how they were going about. They were only confined to preaching only in India.
No, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur did try to start preaching in the Western countries, especially he started in London. But somehow they were the sannyasi disciples who were sent there. They were not successful in preaching. So that's why later on Prabhupada actually sent his Grihastha disciples, and then they became very successful. So Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, see, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu already gave this prediction that Prithvividya Achena Kadati Ram Sarvatra Prachar Hoive Moranam, that this holy name should spread in every nook and corner of the world. So he had already given that prediction, and then Bhaktivinoda Thakur prepared the foundation for it. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur also preached a lot, and but he did prepare a very strong foundation. Then Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. Then, if you remember, Bhaktivinoda Thakur also was praying for a ray of Vishnu, so that that devotee can come and then he can also spread Krishna consciousness, at least outside of the Dham and outside of India. So then Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur appeared, and then that task was then finally accomplished by Srila Prabhupada. So one way it is Prabhupada, one time, he was asked, Prabhupada, how did you become successful while preaching in the West? Prabhupada gave the entire credit to Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He said that if he wanted, he could have preached and made the entire world Krishna conscious, but he left it for me, some portion of it. So he gave the credit to Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So one thing we can also know that all these acharyas, they did their task according to their particular time position, and then later on they all prepared some background for Srila Prabhupada to appear, and then Prabhupada was the one who was credited for it and who was chosen for it. In fact, there is also one particular pastime of Bhaktivinoda Thakur where Bhaktivinoda Thakur took Babaji Vesh after preaching for a good amount of period, and then he retired in Jagannath Puri. Then he was just chanting the holy name, but he was also feeling some kind of repentance in his heart that he's unable to preach, and he's unable to give mercy to the conditioned souls. But because of his repentance and his extremely purity, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally appeared to him in a vision, and he told him that you don't worry about anything. You just chant the holy name, and just by your chanting, the holy name will spread throughout the world. So even Bhajananandis also, they also internally they have this mood of compassion for others. The only difference is they won't make an extra effort or an external effort to go and distribute this knowledge to others. But internally, because of their bhajan, they are so absorbed, they are so highly immersed in their bhajan, because of their purity itself. So, because of their desire itself, some other devotee will become an instrument of their compassion, and he will spread the Krishna consciousness movement like that. So everyone is compassionate, all the pure devotees of the Lord. It's only according to time-based circumstance, they have their particular roles to perform. And then later on, finally, Srila Prabhupada did that. So indirectly, everyone is involved, in taking the holy name to nook and corner of the world. It's not, definitely it's Prabhupada who did it. But the previous Acharyas, because of their mercy, blessings, and their desire, the holy name was spread. And because Srila Prabhupada is the one who took their message so seriously compared to all of his godbrothers, that's why he was most successful in that.
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you so much. It's amazing how this continues in parampara, and our previous acharyas were also so great. When you hear about them, it's like whatever we hear is less only. Yeah, so we're very fortunate to be connected to this parampara, through our initiation. So really very thankful to Srila Prabhupada.
So, So any questions related to the books of the previous Acharyas, reading them and okay. No questions about reading the books of previous Acharyas? Or no comments?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat
Mr. Shyamarasika Devidasi. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for explaining about how to read Srila Prabhupada books and previous Acharya's book. So it was wonderful class as usual. So thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Okay, thank you, Mataji. If there are no questions and comments, then we can stop here. Thank you all the devotees for giving me this wonderful opportunity. And next time also we'll come up with some different topic. If you have some topic you would like me to address, you can also share that. Otherwise, I can come up with some different topic. Thank you all the devotees. Hare Krishna.
Vanchakalpatarubhascha kripa sindhu eva cha patitam pavanebhyo Vaishnavyo namo namah. Ananta Koti Vaishnavya ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
His Grace.
Prema Rāsa Prabhuji ki